in several cases issued without giving us an opportunity or without sending a letter prior to issuing this show cause notice. Now, keeping these things in mind, what we have done, we have requested Nitin sir and he has immediately accepted to guide us how to go ahead on these show cause notices issued by Service Tax Department. So today we have a learned speaker, CA Nitish ji, who is a graduate from Mulund College and have got around 30 years of experience in CA profession. He has completed his articleship, and the best part is that during the course of his articleship, he has completed CA. Most of us are generally unable to complete our CA degree within the 3.5 years period, but he has completed. He is a rank holder in CA inter exams and is contributing a lot in various WIRC journals and CA Institute journals. He has got vast industry exposure and presently he has little bit slowed down the formal practice, what I came to know from his resume, rather biodata. Rather, he is mainly focusing on legal matters and giving various drafts for defending the clients. So with this brief introduction, and in the morning I came to know that he's a very good football player. So that is an added advantage today. We can learn a lot how to keep ourselves fit. Now, with this brief introduction, sir, I invite you to guide us on this peculiar type of problems which we all are facing and how to come out of it. Thank you very much, sir. The dais is yours.
Okay. Thank you. New Mumbai branch of WRC, my friend Sanjay, Santosh ji, and Sanjay Bhujbal ji also. Basically, when this topic was given to me, we need to deliberate on the show cause notices, I was wondering what will I deliberate first. Because it is very common to deal with the show cause notices in our day-to-day situations also. I will start with the basic situations which we come across in our office also, so that concepts becomes very easy, because I always emphasize on the concepts more than anything else, because if the concepts are clear, we can adapt to any situation. For example, we are doing any particular audit. You can take a corporate audit or a tax audit or a GST audit or any audits or any matters, even IT returns. Our staff comes to us with the first draft of documents. And as a principal, we find he has not taken care of certain aspects. So we ask him, why you have not taken care of this particular part. So the process of our staff showing us their work is a showing. When we do a review, it is a cause, because the intention is to ensure that whatever is filed by our office is absolutely correct. And we are bringing that aspects of defaults to his notice. It is a notice to the person. Though it is not a formal notice, but it is a notice. So that situations can be corrected by the noticee. It can be our staff, and we can always help to our clients. Similarly, such situations do exist in the business scenarios also, when there is a shortage of products supplied or a deficiency of services. Questioning happens between the two parties. So essentially, whenever there is a case of show cause notices, there are two parties which are involved. One is the person who receives the notice, and the other party who gives the notice to the other person. Now, today, we are seeing that there are plethora of notices which has been issued to each one of us. There are multiple reasons for issue of the notices, which we will see in the subsequent slides. But before I proceed, as a speaker, usually people put the disclaimer at the end and I put at the beginning. कि whatever I will express, they are my views. I may be correct or I may be incorrect also, but whatever I am going to explain, that is based on my understanding. It won't be binding on the branch or WRC or ICI. Each one of you are requested to go through the law provisions on your own and then decide a legal recourse कि what I have said is correct and whether it is right to respond to show cause notices. And during the presentation, if I give any examples and they are like coincidental with your clients, then I have no intention to disclose anybody's affairs to anyone. They are purely coincidental. So let us start with the presentation. 2 days back, I came across this particular slide and which prompted me to add into my presentation. Is कि in year 2030, CBI and GST Council would issue forms 2AZ. I will say it can be 2AAZ or anything, any alphabet choice they want. The supplier has to make a video saying you are handing over the goods or you are providing the services, and both buyer and seller has to hang the certificates on their neck. Then only they will allow the input tax credit. This is on a lighter side, just for a fun to start with. But it is like a showcasing. Looking at the plethora of fake notices, the non-disclosure of informations or non-reporting of the information, essentially inquiries initiated by the department to find out are there any leakages of revenue whereby there is a loss to exchequer, or is there is an intention of a fraud, or is there a misstatement of facts which are reported in the applicable returns filed under the respective laws, or there is a suppression of facts, or there is a fraudulent claim of refunds, or incorrect claim of input tax credits, or registrations not obtained under the respective provisions of the law, which was required to be obtained. So basically, what is show cause notice? Show is to explain, document, justify, and corroborate. So typically, when the show cause notice is received, they are explaining us why they are raising the issue. They are explaining the documents from which they are raising these queries. And due to differences of the data matching or mismatch properly called, they are justifying their actions. Okay, it deserves show cause notices to be issued. And they are corroborating based on that, saying that we feel based on this, it appears to us. It appears. So they have only vision. Yes, it is appearing that there is some mismatch. So we have an opportunity to explain कि Baba, there is no mismatch really, but the reasons are this. Cause. Reasons are justified. Typically, it's a British Raj notice flown in from the ages, standardized notices. They are using the mail merge facility, whereby they are just changing the names, addresses, service tax numbers, and the figures. Rest, most of them are stereotypes, standard stereotype notices. And that is, they are explaining that because of the mismatch, so much loss has been caused to the exchequer and so much damage has been caused. And show cause notice is a formal communication to us, and it is quantifying the tax impact, interest, and penalty. They are the components of the show cause notices. When they are issuing this particular kind of a show cause notices come demand to us, it's like it's a coin of, every coin has a two sides. It is their one side of the coin, we are on the other side, where we have to defend our clients in toto. In a genuine cases, when our client is right, we should defend to the lastest nail in the coffin. We will also explain our facts. We will also document the reconciliations to explain why there is not a mismatch. We will also justify what they are demanding is not applicable. We will also corroborate with the evidence that is available in our hand to defend. We will also explain with the reasons, which can be factual position, whether it is a service, whether it is a notifications, whether it is a service, whether it is exempt. And we will say, because of this, there is no loss to the revenue. And reply that we file is our communication. And we will also quantify कि whatever you have quantified is incorrect, and that's why it may not be payable. In some cases, it may be possible कि some demand would be payable by us. We will examine the time limits in the subsequent slides, but right now let us understand the concept first. So the quantification is very important. So typically what will happen, if we don't quantify, then most of the times they may not read the reply to the show cause notices also, because of the pressure in their hand. Because each officer has got 3,000, 5,000 show cause notices for which he has to adjudicate the matter. So this aspects has to be kept in mind. And show cause notice is a foundation on which all developments will happen for the future course of litigation. And the reply that we file at the show cause stage, it should be so strong कि when the officer is passing an order of adjudication, he has to pass a reasoned and specific order saying कि I have examined this particular matters, and if our submissions are strong enough, then he can drop the proceedings on a merit to each one of us in our favor. So this is basically the overview is what is the objective, broad principles, relevance and applicability, whether it is the art of negotiation and drafting, or is it a game of clash of titles, meticulous drafting aspects of show cause notices, best policies attending the show cause notices, judicial references, time limits, interest, penalties, prosecutions and provisions. First 5 pointers are the important. Judicial references are also important, but they are all self-explanatory. So depending on the time availability in our hand, we will take a call how much we discuss on that particular points. And time limits also, they are more or less in the form of tabular formats. Similarly, interest and penalties. This presentation is already shared, so None of you have to worry about it. Show cause notices are issued for the loss of revenue to the exchequer, non-reporting of revenues. Why non-reporting happens? The reason is people don't want to disclose the information correctly in the periodical returns to be filed by the service provider, either by way of ignorance or by way of intention. So if it is an ignorance, what plias we can take, and if it is by intention, what implication it will carry. Then mistakes in revenue reporting under different laws. The reason is, say, take the example of a builder who is following a projected completion method. He would be reporting the revenue as a top line figure in the year in which the construction is complete. But considering the services provided, which are considered as the construction services, if he is liable to pay the service tax, he will be paying based on the provisions of the service tax law. Take the another example of a professional. Professional typically follows the cash system of accounting, whereas service tax return was applicable. Service tax compliances were applicable to a small scale service provider who had a billing only up to 50 lakh rupees. But if his billings are more than 50 lakh rupees, he was supposed to follow the mercantile system of accounting for discharging the service tax obligations under the provisions of a service tax law. So there is always a mismatch in the revenue, what is reported in the IT returns and what is reported in the service tax returns. If it is a corporate entity has to follow the mercantile system of reporting. Similarly, if there are some information which is available to the government, because of the fake invoices or incorrect claim of input tax credits on account of the inputs, capital goods or input services as applicable, or non-reversal of Senate credit on exempt services, they can also issue the refund. If there are situations which they come to know that export has not happened and the person has claimed the export of services provision and refund has been claimed, so they have a right to recover such incorrect claims from the service provider. Whatever the allegations that are covered in the show cause notices, if they are proved, then the demands are crystallized and then all subsequent processes of demand and recoveries as per the provisions of service tax would apply. All these steps, what we have seen previous 5 months, government using the technology to derive the data, and based on that, the notices are issued. But the beauty of this particular, all the notices that are issued, at least we have come across many cases where the data which has been generated by the system is incorrect than what has been reported. So when we examine that particular part, we have to file the appropriate reply in our show cause notice saying the data which has been generated by your system is absolutely incorrect. And because of that, time limit of 60 months which you have claimed to be applicable to this show cause note proceedings is not valid, but only the limit of 30 months would apply. from the relevant date as applicable based on the provisions of the law that existed on that particular day. So that care has to be taken, and we need to do a proper research on that particular matter. So like what we see, I think all of us must have lost the count also ki how many notices we have been receiving, and most of them are stereotypes. So if we have a multiple client base and multiple clients receive the multiple notices which are of stereotype, can we or should we file the reply in a stereotype manner? This is the first point which one needs to be very, very clear. Ki even though notices are stereotype, replies can never be stereotype. It has to be always case based. We should never, never, ever reply on a stereotype manner. The reason is each client is particular, each client's business model is different, each client's business activities are different. So the replies cannot be stereotype. That care has to be taken care. Typically, all the notices will demand tax at the applicable rate or the maximum marginal rate. Similarly, they will say why interest should not be chargeable as per the provisions applicable under the service tax law, say 78, 73, 77, and so on. And penalty also why should not be initiated as per section 77. So when we are drafting the reply to the show cause notices, it should not be taken in the casual manner. It should deserve its own merit. If we file a casual reply, then the person adjudicating the matter will also pass the order casually. But if our reply is meticulous, strong, factual, constructive, with corroborated documentation, then adjudicating authority also is expected to follow the principles of natural justice and examine the matter properly and pass the appropriate speaking order. And for example, let us take the example that we follow all the precautions, and adjudicating authority still adopts the casual attitude. He says the unfavorable order. Whatever the documentation that we have created for the replies of show cause notice, it will definitely help us at the higher levels, which can be CIT appeal or a tribunal, or it can be High Court or a Supreme Court. Most of us don't get into the arena of show cause notices at all because we feel it is more of a legal nature and it is the role of a legal counsel. I beg to differ on here. The reason is I will see this as an opportunity for each one of us. Though people say that show cause notice is a Pandora box. Yes, it is. Plethora of notices which has been issued to every one of us. It's a Pandora box. It has been issued under the orders at the higher end or the reasons known to them. The most prima facie reason is key shortages of revenue collections by the department. But that does not mean that they can issue the show cause notices. But once it is issued, we are duty bound to reply to such notices. When I say opportunity, how it is an opportunity for a chartered accountant? Chartered accountant is the best person to address this particular situation. The reason is, if an advocate is filing a reply to that particular notice, he will only purely examine from the legal perspective. He will see the interpretational issues. He will see the legal matters. He will see the time limits. And he will try to play around with the words, which can benefit the clients, and the litigation goes on. Whereas as a chartered accountant, we are exposed to accounting, we are exposed to audit, we are exposed to compliances, we are exposed to each and every aspects of business. And a lot of our clients may be depending on us on the management advisory services also. So when the objections are raised in the form of a show cause notices to the clients, first person they look upon is the chartered accountant. And if we can encash this opportunity by understanding, and since we are already exposed to his business, we'll be in a better position to explain the business model to the adjudicating authorities. And we'll be able to defend, sir, this is what you are alleging in the show cause notice is factually incorrect. The facts are this, the business model is this, and because of which this is not applicable. Which even an advocate do, but advocate also will depend, we'll suppose if we are not confident or we are never attempted this particular practice, then also key inputs which flows in from clients to a chartered accountant and chartered accountant to counsels will happen. So it's a big opportunity for each one of us. Today we are getting the notices under the service tax, VAT, excise, and we can imagine tomorrow floods of notices. Floods, I will say floods, will flow in from every law that is applicable to business enterprise. Routine compliances may see reduced significantly because everything is going to be digitalized. These are my views. Please don't take it to heart, because I will not understand what are your views or what are your reactions, because that is a drawback of a webinar system. But it's a big opportunity in my view. And it's not a Pandora box, but it is like an opportunity for us to understand many more aspects, and for which we need to read the law. That is very important. So when we talk about the contours of the notices, show cause notice, it is income tax, indirect tax, FEMA, excise, service tax, VAT, corporate laws, customs, and any other laws. Essentially, we'll be concentrating on the service tax only because I've been told to concentrate only on service tax. But if I look at the provisions of Section 11 of Excise Act or Section 73 of service tax, they are more or less similar. Or if there are no express provisions under the service tax law, then provisions as applicable under the Central Excise Act are applicable to the proceedings. Similarly, the existing GST law, if you read the provisions of Section 73, 74, 122 and 132 of CGST Act. They are mere extensions of Section 11 of Central Excise Act or 73 of Service Tax. So more or less even the time limits which are provided, they are aligned to the old laws. Say Section 73 of CGST also provides 3 years time limit and 74 provides for a 5-year limit. We will see the difference between two soon. So these are the standard steps. First, typically the letter is issued to the noticee explaining what are the discrepancies or what are the differences and what they expect you to address and what is the tax they intend to demand from you. If you have filed a reply, then also probably you might have received a show cause notice. But we have seen in many of the cases, they have claimed that letter has been issued to the noticee, but he has not replied because his intention is to withhold the information or he would like to not to disclose, to come forward to resolve the matter. In show cause notice, they will explain the source from where they have got the data. They will put across their allegations. They will put a quantifications and they will quote the relevant sections of the service tax provisions which they would like to initiate against the assessee. A reply by the noticee is the third event, whereby assessee will typically either agree or refute the allegations and quantifications. Then personal hearing will happen before the appropriate authority. Here it is the adjudicating authority, which is the person who has issued the show cause notice. Fifth event is the adjudication. It is expected that that person should pass the impartial, factual and speaking order by either dropping the allegations or crystallizing the demands based on the merit. And the sixth step is the alternative remedy, which is tribunal, CIT appeals, High Court, Supreme Court, which either SLP or a writ. We will be concentrating up to the fifth event only, because sixth event is a topic by itself. It cannot be covered in this particular discussions. Typically, the components of the show cause notices is the tax, penalty, and the interest. Jurisdictions, authority or powers, time limits, and serving of notice. Tax is a tax on the services provided, but the penalty and the interest, I call it as a dandaniti, because government feels that the more danda is imposed on the service provider, he will fall in line and he will comply with the notices in future if he has burnt his hand at the first stage. I beg to differ on this particular point. Every time that can be applied. And if it is a genuine cases of show cause notices, I can understand. But when the notices are not valid, this gives a different signal to the stakeholders in general. So all the weapons which they have in their hand for issue of show cause notice, I expect extreme caution and care should be implemented before the issue of show cause notice. If there are lacunas in the notices, then we can definitely win the cases, or we can get the proceedings dropped based on the facts. every fact is totally different. The other important thing which we need to check is the jurisdiction. The person who has issued the notice to us, does he have a jurisdiction on the notice? If he doesn't have a jurisdiction, then such notice is invalid. And in that proceedings itself are void ab initio. But if we reply to such show cause notices without verifying the jurisdiction, then we can't take a plea that that is not a valid notice. So verification of a jurisdiction is very, very important part which needs to be taken care. As and when we receive a notice, typically whenever the notice is received, we should always instruct our clients. Okay, they should put a stamp, time and date. Okay, I have received on so and so date and so time. Then the authority on powers. If the issuing authority doesn't have a power to issue the notice, then also it is invalid. So even that is to be checked very strictly. Normally, it has been observed in the tribunal level or at the higher levels. Minor lapses in terms of the authority and powers are pardoned. They said that they are procedural issues which can happen, or incorrect of quoting of the sections or rules that are also not considered as very significant lapse in the contents of the notices. Time limits, very, very important. Typically, the time limit under section 73(1) is 30 months from the respective due date, which is a relevant date. Or it is a 60-month in the cases which involves fraud, collusion, misstatement of facts, or suppression, or contraventions of provisions of Service Tax Act and rules thereunder. Most of the notices are issued by invoking the period of 5 years, saying कि we feel service provider by not disclosing the information, his intention is to fraud or collusion or suppression of facts, misstatement of facts, or contraventions of provisions. An ultimate aim is to evade the taxes, which may not be the case. So, if fraud, collusion, misstatement, suppression, and contravention does not exist, then the time limit will be 30 months. So when we are replying to the notice based on our data corroboration or documentation, if we find that it does not involve all these five limbs of issues, then we should record in the reply saying that these aspects are not applicable. Thus, the time limit applicable to issue of the show cause notice should be 30 months and not 60 months. So, this show cause notice deserves to be withdrawn or quashed or to be dropped. Here is you are only making a statement in your reply, which you need to convince to the adjudicating authority with the facts. If facts are not on your side, then even if you put that fact on the notices, adjudicating authority can take a different stand. Then coming to the next aspect of serving of notice. It can be through hand delivery, or it can be through ordinary post, or a registered post, or a speed post, or a courier, or any other means, or it is an email, or if none of them are possible, then pasting off on the place of business or advertisement in the newspaper also. Adjudicating authorities expect to follow the steps properly. What we have come across, they have a records of dispatches by a stamp on their show cause notices, but there is no scroll available. And they say we have dispatched through speed post, but when we ask them to show us the proof of receipt, they said we don't have. And we say it has been never delivered to us. We ask them, show us where is the document which is written back? They are not able to find that record. They say they give us a reason. It is not, we are not able to find it. But still, you take a photocopy of show cause notice. In that particular situation, such process of serving of notice has to be recorded in our reply in the form of a tabulation. That aspect has to be taken care. Let us take some brain teasers as we have understood some aspects of show cause notices. Can we file an appeal against show cause notices? My answer is no. Because show cause notice is only a communication. It is not in the form of an order at all. So it is never appealable. Take that thing very clear in your mind. Based on show cause notice, adjudication order is passed, then it is appealable, but not the show cause notice. Second, can a penalty be levied while passing the adjudication of a show cause notice order? Again, my answer is no, because penalty proceedings are independent proceedings by itself. While passing the adjudicating order, he can quantify and he can initiate the separate penalty proceedings. But in all typical show cause notices, they say while penalty should not be invoked. But if the penalties are invoked in the adjudication order, then you have a good ground at the higher levels. If supplier is providing the exempt services from a levy of service tax, and such service is registered under the provisions of Service Tax Act 1994, but such exempt turnover is not declared in periodical ST3 returns, can levy be recovered on such supply by way of a show cause notice? My answer is no. It cannot be recovered because the service itself is not subject to levy. Though it will not be agreed at the first level, but at the higher level, it will be passed in your favor. So that care has to be taken, because first of all, to demand a levy, it is subject to tax. But if the law itself says that service is not taxable, there is no question of charging the levy. Take the example of another example of a GTA issuing the consignment notes vis-a-vis transporter not issuing the consignment note. When the GTA is issuing the consignment note, the receiver are expected to pay the service tax. But when it is only transporter providing the transport services by road, gets covered in the specific notification. So it is mostly exempt. But facts would differ from a documentation and the information and the books of accounts, how they are maintained and what are the records. So whenever we have a reply or situations of that kind to be dealt in the show cause notices, it is always recommended that such proofs of documentation should also form a part of our show cause reply to explain, because such exhibits in the show cause reply will help you at the higher level even if you don't succeed at the first level. Then many people ask us, can we go for the writ petitions against show cause notice? In my opinion, if it involves the fundamental law, question of law, then yes. Otherwise, no. There is another question also many people ask, can we file the combined writ petition? Again, my answer is typically no. The reason is every notice is different. All facts are different, business models are different, allegations are different, provisions are different, sections are different, rules are different. All cannot be clubbed together. It is better to go for an individual writ if applicable and not a combined writ. Again, subject to facts. But even if you decide to go for a writ petition, ensure to file a reply to your show cause notice. The typical time limit is 30 days. This we have already covered. Then here the question also comes across, we come across, can multiple officers issue the notices on the same matters? At times it happens that superintendent is issuing, deputy commissioner is issuing, commissioner issuing, audit team is also issuing the same matter. But in that case, we should file a reply that only one person should adjudicate the matter rather than 4 people adjudicating the matter. But such fact should be marked as a replies to each of the people. Procedural lapse should not be claimed as a remedy. Time limits we have already considered. Very important is can there be verbal show cause notices or telephonic show cause notices? Or can a recipient do away with the physical issue of show cause notice? My answer is absolutely no. Verbal show cause notice is not permitted. Telephone show cause notice is not permitted. Physical show cause notice, doing away of the physical show cause notice is also not permitted. There is only one judgment under the Customs Act of Section 124 where verbal show cause notice was permitted and held to be valid at the discretion of a recipient because it was a personal matter. But under the excise and the service tax law, there is no such waiver. So show cause notice has to be in writing. Manner of serving of notice, we have already covered this part. So let's come to whether it is the art of negotiation and drafting, or is it a game of a clash of titans. When I say it is an art, reading a show cause notice is an art. You have to read with the two lenses, which are our eyes, or if we are wearing a specs, then four lenses. And if multiple people are reading the show cause notices, then multiple lenses that are available. When we are reading the notice, all issues raised should be prepared in the bullet forms. We need to understand the domain knowledge of the law applicable, domain knowledge of the business activities of the service provider, because that will help you to draft a meticulous reply to a show cause notice. You should never attempt to draft a reply without reading and understanding each and every word of show cause notice. Till you understand every word, don't make an attempt to find the reply. Probably you can seek the adjournment. Though I'm not in favor of adjournment, but if situation warrants, we should always plead, yes, sir, please grant me the adjournment because of so and so reasons. I would like to have additional time. No harm in seeking the adjournment. But as far as possible, avoid the seeking the adjournments. Every issue that has been raised in the show cause notice should be replied by, however small, insignificant, or irrelevant. If it is not applicable, say it is not applicable, not relevant, but do reply. Don't miss out any issues, counter issues. If you find there are any assumptions or presumptions aspects in show cause notice, then you have won the half the battle. Because assumptions and the presumptions are not permitted in the show cause notices. The person issuing the notice, he cannot assume anything for issuing the notice. He will always say, according to the mismatch information available with us, it appears to me you have not declared so and so turnover, you have not paid so and so tax. But they will never say it is assumed. But even if they have used the word assumed, then you have won the battle. Many people say, can we use the legal jargons and maxims or a judicial pronouncements in the show cause reply? In my humble understanding, we should avoid using any legal jargons and maxims in the show cause notice. The reason is, person who is adjudicating the matter is not a judge. He may be familiar with the legal jargons or he may not be. And he may not be familiar with all these judicial pronouncements. It is to be done at a higher level. But if situation warrants, you can quote. But then you explain the meanings also. But as a rule, I don't use judicial jargons or maxims in my show cause replies. Natural justice and the speaking order. It is to be applicable to both the sides. Like we expect them to hear, we should also be equivalently ready to hear what they want to say. So it has to be fair play on both the sides. If I refer to the definition given by the Ramanatha Iyengar's Advanced Law Lexicon, the act of adjudicating, the process of trying, determining a case judicially, the application of the law to the facts and authoritative declaration of the result, which is the order. It means judicial determination of a cause after taking into consideration the material, which is your reply. For us, it is a show cause notice on record and after hearing the parties. Always demand a personal hearing in your reply. Always. And at times, my experience says that personal hearing, you are able to explain much better than what you can put it on an email or on a video conferencing. Or you can always seek for an agenda. Reply to the notice and reply and hearing are two different things. Reply is a precursor to the hearing. Both the parties can raise inconsistent and contrary views, plias, in their submissions and defend respectively. Issue of taxability has to be examined. Rate of tax duty can be raised even if not raised earlier. Because if they examine further and they find something else, that can be raised. But the principle of natural justice has to be followed. There should not be bias on both the sides. Both the parties should be neutral. And speaking and the reasoned order is a must, which we are following in the income tax, we are following in the other laws also. First, we need to check whether it is a service. And if it is covered under the negative list, then it is not subject to levy at all, which we can put it, the relevant notification or provision under in our reply. And if it is exempted, then notification number 25 of 2012, dated 20th June 2012 can be referred. It is effective from 1st July 2012. There is a typo error. Then we need to check whether threshold limit was applicable and whether respective conditions are to be satisfied or not. And what we have disclosed in our ITR, especially the business codes and the components of the revenue that we report. For example, we came across one particular situation where there was a case of tuition fees. Teachers felt it is exempt under the notification, but that was not. Private tuitions are not exempt. And then the teacher said, fees includes the sale of books also in the fees structure, but records were saying something else. And if the books were there, there was no cost of books in the revenue account at all. It was only revenues which were reported or the books were not maintained. So each case is peculiar, and what stand you take, you need to correlate with the data that you have reported in the respective law. If you say my activity is of manufacture and that's why it is not subject to service tax law because it is covered under section 2M of the central excise, but the facts are something different, then that plia will not hold the fort in your defense. So that has to be taken care very, very vigilantly. So typically these are the phrases which are used in the show cause notices. Conditions not complied, procedures not complied, contraventions of provisions, observed or appears that mismatch of data, non-reporting of details, non-disclosure. Service provider is fully aware about the lawful compliances, but most of the time service provider is not aware about anything. He is dependent on us. Fraud, willful suppression of facts, willful misstatement of facts, collusions, concealment, etc. And if not detected, government would have lost the revenue, and so on. And it will be covered under Section 174 of CGST Act because of the transition. Demands quantified at a specified rate of levy. Intention is to evade the taxes, though facts could differ. Why tax, interest, and the penalty should not be demanded for all of the above, and so on. It can be cumulative, it can be individually, depends on the fact. So now coming to the drafting part. This we have seen it should be examined under the lens by digesting every word. All supporting documentation should be prepared and kept ready before drafting such reply. It can be in the form of tables, it can be in the form of reconciliations, it can be proofs, evidences, statements. You can draw the support from any material that is available to your disclosure. It should be, all the issues should be summarized in the tabular pointers. Issue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It can be 100. At times, show cause notices can be 10 pages, it can be 500 pages, it can be 1000 pages, depending on the size, complexity of the matter. I usually make a point in my reply to reproduce the show cause notices contents. And whenever I am incorporating the contents of the show cause notices, I will put my pointers. Because of this, say para number 1 to 7, these are the issues which have been raised. Typically, that is what we follow. And then we cover up the reply under each issues with the supporting documents, with the exhibit numbers. And all reply documents that we prepare, it should be prepared in the form of a paper book as if we are filing at the tribunal level, which is the last fact-finding authority. So if you have done your grassroots work significantly, then it can really help you because you are acting as a fact-finding authority while you are filing a reply. If you are responding to each and every issues, then it is treated as a comprehensive submissions. Whatever the submissions that you file, always file a summary submissions. We call it as an executive summary of the submissions. Main aspects should always be incorporated in the order sheet at the personal hearing, because that can help if show cause reply is not considered by the adjudicating authority, because order sheets photocopies can be obtained at a higher level. If the department is losing the records, which has happened, no harm in refiling it again, but always when you are refiling, give the reference of the previous filed document reference and attach the acknowledgement copy. Yeah, I had filed it on, so it will help you as a documentation. All demands which they raise, please verify. We have found there are enough errors in the calculations also. And if tax and interest are payable, it is recommended that such tax and interest are paid because you will save in terms of the interest outgo. If demands are not payable, such facts should be clearly stated in your replies. Communication should be simple, precise, factual, descriptive, and constructive. Never use the standardized replies, as each situation is peculiar. Always have 3 copies of show cause notice. one for you, one for the department, one for the client. Even if it means multiple papers, multiple files, whatever it is. Because if it reaches the higher level, you don't know what you have filed at the first level. So that is required. Cross-referencing always should be covered in the form of a table, index, which we see typically in all the books. Such kind of an indexing table should be form part of the show cause reply. Always start the reply with using the words without prejudice. It's a legal common phrase. You are replying without any bad intentions. Personal hearing should be demanded in the conclusion part if you don't agree to my submissions, but I would still urge you to give me the personal hearing. This we have covered. Adjournment. This I have covered. The most important thing when we are appearing before the authority in person, be well dressed. Don't go in a shorts or don't go in a t-shirts, because ultimately is a quasi judicial authority. Take care of that particular part. I'm just giving an idea. No intention of pointing fingers towards anybody. All your pointers you should always keep it in a summarized form and carry with you. Carry the supporting judicial material with you. Keep it handy. If required, you can show and then file it with the covering letter at the subsequent stages. Even though he says, give me the copy, you can give the copy, say, sir, I will file the reply with the covering letter. It will help you as a documentation. Coming to the references, these are all standard references which are drawn from the Supreme Courts. Issue of show cause notice is a condition precedent to demand. If show cause notice is not issued and demand is not crystallized, it's not valid only. These are the citations of the Supreme Court, Metal Forgings and Madhu Milan Syntax Private Limited. But whenever you are relying on any particular judgment, please read the complete judgment in toto. Don't just rely on the summary notes, because sometimes the facts could vary. But these are the fundamental judgments which we have come across. It helps. A mere letter or a communication asking for a payment is not a notice at all. If you are receiving a letter saying, please pay so and so tax, it's not a notice. It's not valid only. So if it is a mere letter, either you can ignore or you can file a response. They cannot start the demand and recovery proceedings. There has to be adjudication order. Show cause notice has to be in writing. This is the case which I was referring of Virgo Steels, which says as the individual right, but that was with reference to the custom law. But for service tax and excise, it's not applied. It must contain all the essential details. Plain vanilla show cause notice is not valid. It has to include the levy of provisions. It has specific, it cannot be vague, it cannot lack details, or it is unintelligible. If above are not there, you can say it is invalid. Assumptions and presumptions are not acceptable. Held in Supreme Court judgment of Oath Sugar Mills. So this is very, very important, which we see. If in a stereotype notice, if you find this, you won your battle. Wrong sections quoted, wrong rules quoted, it doesn't invalidate the proceedings. Judgment is of Ilfeston spinning and weaving mills. And it holds today, though it is 78 judgment, it holds its fort today too. BSc Brokers Forum case also of 2001. Because our judicial process is so long, we never know when the verdict will come and what will be the time and efforts. Whether one generation or a second generation or third generation will see the verdict. Very important. Corrigendum or addendum. If initial show cause notice is issued, then some clarification is issued in the subsequent by way of a corrigendum, then it is fine. It doesn't invalidate the principal show cause notice, or it doesn't invalidate the time period. But if in the corrigendum or addendum, a new fact or a new issue is cropped up, then the time limit would apply from that issue of the corrigendum or addendum. SAIL 2008 case of Supreme Court. Kasturi Foods 1992. So these are the basic, I have covered the basics issues which can come across. Bhor Industries, Ahuja radio case, new classifications, period of limitations, supply of information not mandated under the statute does not amount to suppression. If you are not asked to report in the law, then it cannot be termed as a suppression. Srishti Diwan. So if that is a fact, 30 months time limit would apply, not the 60 months. Even though every show cause notice take the support of 60 months. Apex Electrical, Gujarat High Court. Inaction or failure is not a suppression of a fact. Padmini Products. It has held that non-declaration is not sufficient to invoke the larger period. So extended period of limitation cannot be invoked. Bona fide belief and suppression of facts about non-dutiability of for any reason, extended period of limitation is not available. These are the various Supreme Court judgments which can be relied on in your defense. Amco batteries, non-exability. If you feel it is not applicable, then the 5 years period cannot apply. Ignorance of law, whether suppression of facts can be alleged. It has been held in Peters and Miller's, if the non-payment was done due to ignorance of the law, larger period is not invocable and penalty is not sustainable. No suppression if all material facts are disclosed properly in the respective law. So longer period of limitation will not apply. Mere claiming classification under a particular heading or beneficial exemption is not a suppression or misstatement of facts. Very important. So even if a wrong classification is there, if you can prove it was a genuine, then you can still claim that extended period of notification is not applicable. If penalties are dropped, then extended period of is not available. If department alleges that there is a fraud, then the department has to prove that there is a fraud first, and then the taxpayer or assessee has to, or a service provider has to defend it. If department cannot prove it is a fraud, then extended period of notification limitation does not apply. Income tax returns. No demand of service tax can be made on the basis of income tax returns. Kush Constructions, Bangalore, Tribunal. Difference in figures reflected in service tax return and income tax returns or 26 cannot be basis for raising a service tax demand without investigating the reasons for differences. So if they investigate and they come to know, yes, it is applicable, then they have to report such fact in the speaking order, and then the demand can be raised. But without examining or without investigating, demands cannot be levied. Again, presumption and third party information. They are duty bound to examine the books of accounts if they want to allege the fraud, collusion, misstatement of fact, or suppression or a contravention. And again, that is to be properly documented by them in the adjudication order. Then only it is valid, otherwise no. Same way, same judgment which we discussed. If it is not a service only or an unidentified service, then there is no question of levy of service tax at all. Again, the notices and order. Fixing multiple dates of hearing in a single letter is a violative of the principle of national justice. Bindal Sponge, Orissa High Court. Same way, Tribunal High Court. Ahmedabad also has hold the same view in Afloat Textile. Most of the notices which we have seen, there are multiple dates are given, but technically that is incorrect. A fair and reasonable hearing is necessary. This judgment can be definitely be quoted if you are not given a reasonable hearing. If there is a transfer of officer in between, then all the proceedings will start from the scratch again. Because if Mr. A has heard, he has to pass the adjudication order, but B cannot pass that order. So B has to re-heard the matter and then he can pass. Very important thing, order cannot go beyond or be contrary to the notice. So whatever the issues that are raised in the show cause notices, only on that adjudication can be passed. And if the facts are other than what are the issues raised in show cause notices, then that can be challenged at the higher levels. Review of the is on order is not possible, but rectification of order is possible. That is within 2 years. Time limit is 2 years, 73(4)(a). Penalties. Issue of show cause notice is mandatory before leaving the penalty. Henkel. Is mens rea necessary for imposing a penalty? Mens rea is not an essential element for breach of civil obligations. It has been consistently held in Supreme Court, High Court, and Tribunal. The biggest, most important cases R.S. Joshi versus Ajit Mills of 77. The classical view that no mens rea, no crime has long ago been eroded, and several laws in India and abroad, especially regarding the economic crimes and departmental penalties, have created severe punishments, even where the offences has been defined to exclude mens rea. Therefore, the contention that Section 37(1) fastens heavy liability regarding a fault has no force in depriving the forfeiture of the character of a penalty. But if the statutory provision provides, then it is to be proved with the evidence and the facts. Maximum penalty. If they use the wordings in the penalty provisions up to rupees 10,000, then it is a discretionary. But if the section says or a provision says the penalty of 10,000 rupees, then it is non-discretionary. So if it is a discretionary, it may be levied, may not be levied. If demand and tax is not sustainable, then there is no question of penalty. So if you conclude in your research and the documentation no tax is payable, you should always say, since there is no tax or duty payable, penalty is not sustainable, and question of levying the penalty do not arise as per the show cause notices, white para number so and so in your replies. Retrospective amendment. Retrospective amendment. Penalty is impossible. It is always prospective. It cannot be retrospective, because the day when the event is happening, nobody can predict what can come up in the future. So it is always applicable from a future event or from the prospective date. If the issue is relating to the interpretation of a statutory provision, then the penalty is not impossible. If the assessing officer says it's a question of interpretation of a law, and if it is recorded in the show cause notice, then it is not expected that all the subjects can interpret the law. It is a job of a higher forum. So penalty in such cases is not leviable. These are the various time limits. I will not spend much time, but it's just a tabulation. These are the various standard provisions which everybody will be aware. The major changes have happened from 8th April 2011 as well as 1st July 2012. So section 66D, notification number 25 of 2012, 33 of 2012, all has to be kept in mind while evaluating any issues which are arising because of the show cause notices. In my opinion, we should always file a reply to the show cause notices. Other important thing which we need to see the quantification of offense of 50 lakhs. 50 lakhs imprisonment of 3 years is provided, and in any other case it is 1 year. But minimum imprisonment of 6 months is also provided. So that is to be taken into consideration. If the returns are not filed, then the late fees can be demanded in the show cause notice, which is as per Rule 7C of the Service Tax Rules 1994, applicable from 8th April 2011. Conclusion. It is a foundation on which the department proceeds to adjudicate and crystallize the tax demand and effect demand and recovery from the taxpayer. Proper, prompt, apt, precise, accurate replies by taxpayer through their advisors can act as a formidable defense while defending the matter at all levels of litigation. One should be extremely vigilant, meticulous while studying the contents of show cause notice so that appropriate defense can be formulated and suitable response initiated at the first stage of litigation itself, which is supported by the reconciled documentation. All this will ensure that the conclusions are reached in a well-researched and methodological manner so that it can be very well serve the interests of both the stakeholders. These are the resources which I have used. I always say surround yourself with the people who talk about vision and ideas. Appreciated all of you. Thank you. I hand over the proceedings to the organizers. Thank you.
Sir,
Yes.
there are some queries in the question box. Can I read it out?
Yeah, tell me, sir.
Yeah. One question is from Santosh Dhumal. He's asking whether jurisdiction can be challenged if there is no dean on the SCN.
See, if the dean is notified from 4th November 2019, if DIN number is not there, you can quote that particular circular and say ki this is invalid. It can be challenged.
That can be challenged then.
Yes.
Okay, sir. There is one more question.
Hmm.
Can Service Tax Department issue SCN for the periods which are not covered by their verification notice? For example, verification notice was issued for financial year 15-16, but SCN contains demands based on the base judgment assessment for financial year 14-15, 16-17, and quarter 1 of the financial year 17-18.
I have already given
such a notice. When no such a notice for explanation or document verification was issued at all.
I have already told ki if it is a best judgment assessment, which is like based on the presumptions and the assumption that it is not valid, but you have to counteract with the facts. And you have to see that the time, 1 minute, you have to see whether the time limits are valid or not. If time limits are not valid, then you can always put that facts. But I always recommend to file a reply, the elaborative and exhaustive and factual reply.
Okay, sir. Same question was asked by Sanjay Nikam, sir. Saying that in many cases, department has issued notices taking financial year 15-16 as a base year and added 10 to 25% over the turnover of said years for succeeding years on presumptive basis.
Correct. It has happened. Yeah. Complete. Then I'll add.
Presumptive basis. Also for financial year 17-18, department has taken presumptive turnover as increased by 10 to 25% and further taken to 25% of such an increased turnover of first quarter. Since these figures are taken on a presumptive basis, can we claim such as service tax notices as defective?
No. See, what will happen, for example, take an example, Sanjay has received a notice of sale for the first quarter of 16-17. And considering the data of 15-16, they have said your turnover is gone up by 25%. Say, assume your billing is 2 crores. and they have said, we assume you have made 50 lakh rupees in the first year, whereas you have reported only 10 lakh rupees in the service tax return. So 40 lakh rupees is extra. So on 40 lakhs, 14.5% has been demanded. So you can always substantiate that my billing was 10 lakhs. So what presumption you have put, it's incorrect. 10 lakhs, I have discharged my service tax obligations. So the presumption which you have put, it's invalid, it is incorrect. In fact, it's not factually incorrect. So it requires to be quashed and dropped.
Okay. Sir, there is one
Because
more
you must
query.
have filed the returns, no?
Yes, definitely you must have filed the return.
Obviously, anticipated.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Sir, one more query. The service tax officers initiated search proceedings against the service providers for not replying without giving a copy of search authorization by the commissioner. Is that valid as per law?
You can always ask for the copy of such authorization. You can file a reply
But he
saying
is not giving in this case.
Put it in writing, no? Put it in writing. There is no harm in seeking. If you have a doubt that the proper protocol of issue of search warrant is not followed, you can always challenge that particular part.
Okay.
There is no harm, absolutely no harm. And always say use the words without prejudice. I would like to see principles of natural justice, whether they are followed or not. Finish.
One more query, sir. Whether penalty on a director's partners in person for concealment of the fact is justifiable in SCN, when the SCN also charging the penalty under section 78 of FA 1994.
Sorry, I did not get the question.
Whether the penalty on directors or partners for concealment of facts is justifiable in SCN, when SCN is also charging penalty under section 78. This is a question from Santosh Dumar. Santosh Dumar, are you there? If you want, you can ask personally.
1 minute. The notice is received by the service provider, correct?
Yeah.
Service provider will receive the notice.
So the question
Yes,
is like,
definitely.
can I repeat his question, Sanjay ji?
Yes, repeat.
Sir, question is practical. What he's asking, whether penalty on directors, partners in person for concealment of fact is justifiable in show cause notice when the actual proceeding is actually conducted on the company also, and company has been charged a penalty under section 78 under Finance Act 1994. Actually, his intention is to ask whether the duplication of penalty and penalty is been imposed on company also and partners also, or directors also.
No. See, penalty can be only raised provided the show cause notice is issued. So let us take the example that there is a company A has 3 partners X, Y, Z. If company A has received the show cause notice and the adjudication order is passed, crystallizing the demand of tax, interest, and the penalty. Okay, I assume all legal aspects are correct. Is director received the show cause notice? Is partners received the show cause notice? If they have not received, where is the question of levying the penalty? There is no express provisions as it is available under the Income Tax Act, to my knowledge. In compounding, as per the provisions of the Income Tax Act, yes, each director and the proper officer is subject to penalties, but not under the service tax. So if it is service tax, all the penalties and everything is payable by the service provider only.
Right, sir.
Am I clear? Is it convincing?
For me, it is convincing. Santosh, are you convinced?
Santosh Dhumal is the chartered accountant. He is in attendee list, so he cannot speak.
He can't
Okay.
say. So.
Okay, no problem. Santosh ji, can we move towards the vote of thanks?
Yes, sir. Yes, very much.
Okay. Anybody on the panelist is having any doubts, queries?
Yeah, Nitin Bhutaji, good evening, sir. A.M. Shetty here.
Yeah.
Sir, whether people who have gone for Sabka Vishwas scheme and paid the whatever deficit was there in the scheme, they have paid the amount, and those aspects are now covered under, say, SCN, and he has a good case to defend, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Definitely. No, Sabka in this Vishwas was to give you the immunity.
Yeah.
So if you have given the, you have paid the dues, you have filed the application, file the supporting document saying this is already covered in my declaration.
Yes, sir. So one added question, sir. Now regarding these, mismatch of 26 AS and service tax turnover, that is one of the major reasons where I think they have computed the tax demand and all that. Sir, is this an issue of SCN is without application of mind by the officer? Because in case of contractors and so many places, it need not match for many reasons.
I told that is what I covered in my initial slides of broad coverage, broad principles. It happens, so you have to explain the reasons. No, for example, if I'm a contractor and I'm paying 70% VAT and 30% service tax, so mismatch is bound to happen, no?
Correct.
So you will explain. You will have a VAT returns. You will have a notification numbers. If you are supplying to the SEZ and the service tax is not applicable, then requisite notifications has to be quoted and defended.
Thank you.
Anyone is having any question? Yes, sir.
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 Sir, in case of mistake in filing the income tax returns, will service tax department accept it? Because presently one of my client has included his interest in profit and loss account under the head sales. Service tax department says that why it is included under the head sales. Now you pay. We can prove it that this is interest, not at all sales.
Correct. So if you see my one of the slides, I have said, first you have to examine whether it is a service or not. If it is not a service, you should ask them under which clause you will levy the tax. Just because I have reported in under my profit and loss, that does not mean it is subject to tax.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Samir sir, you want to say anything? Okay. Now I think it's time to go for the vote of thanks. Good evening, everybody. Dignitaries on the screen. My chairman Santosh Sharma Sarji, all my past chairmen and committee members. Thank you very much for attending. It was a quite live and interactive session by our today's speaker, Sri Nitin Bhutta Sarji. Sir, you have covered all the sections which are required to be showcased in our showcase notice. You have also clarified all the doubts and difficulties which are faced by our members. It was much needed topic looking to the bundle of notices issued by the Service Tax Department. On behalf of Navi Mumbai branch of WRC and all the attendees, I propose a very hearty vote of thanks. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
We cannot offer